The wonderful world of skiing.
All right, hold it. You can't tell me you know of one person that can do that, let alone anybody be crazy enough to try it, especially if you're a beginner. And if you are a beginner, you certainly don't start out like that. How do you start out? Let's take a little trip and find out, shall we?
Here is the excitable Steve Buckhantz, who is having a terrible time maintaining his composure because of the Super Bowl.
Is it against the rules to tell him that while we're doing this, we're really even watching the game?
Who's we?
Me?
You are watching, but that's your job.
You're right. I have to watch the game and do this, too.
That's right.
I don't like what I see right now. I mean, you're beautiful, but the game is not in my favor right now. Let's do this, and then we'll talk a little bit about the game.
Take it easy.
Former Tennessee State star Truck Robinson is enjoying one of his best seasons as a pro, and he's one of the main reasons the Phoenix Suns are leading the Pacific Division of the NBA. Truck today, however, did not have one of his better days, and that may be the main reason that the Suns couldn't hang in there with the Philadelphia 76ers. Let's go to the Spectrum in Philly, where the biggest thing on these fans' minds weren't Dr. J, but the Polish rifle and the Eagles later in the Super Bowl. They're in trouble right now. So the doctor thought he'd try to change their minds. He did most of his operating in the first half and wound up with 15 points. Bobby Jones and rookie Andrew Toney each had 16. The Sixers were up by 18 points at one stretch, but Phoenix cut it to 93-91 late in the game behind the shooting of Alvin Adams and Walter Davis. However, Lionel Hollins and Maurice Cheeks put them away, 98-93 the final. Sixers are 44-9 and still one game up on Boston in the Atlantic Division because the Celts also won today. Let's look at the NBA scores. Philadelphia over Phoenix, 98-93. Boston beat Seattle 115-106, and the Bullets won their 8th out of the last 10 games, beating New Jersey by 18 points. A quick check of the SEC basketball standings. Find LSU where they've been all season long, all alone atop the conference with a record of 8-0. They picked up their 8th win last night in Baton Rouge against Tennessee, 80-63. Kentucky, who beat Vandy, is now in sole possession of second place with a record of 6-2, followed by Tennessee at 5-3, and then it's Vandy and Bama at 4-4. This afternoon in the Shenandoah Valley, Ralph Sampson put on a clinic as the second-ranked Virginia Cavaliers clobbered unranked Ohio State 89-73. We take you to University Hall in Charlottesville, where the Sampson just dominated every time he got his hands on the ball, scoring 24 points in the first half and finishing the game with 40 points and 16 rebounds. Look at that shot. A college career high for Sampson, 40 points. Now, the guy is 7'4". He weighs about 190 pounds. At age 10, he could tread water in a test tube. But he gained a little bit of weight, and now many people are predicting that he's going to become the greatest player in the history of the game. Two of his top teammates are Lee Raker and Jeff Lamp, who many people don't know were coached in high school by Vandy's Richard Schmidt at Ballard High in Louisville, and then they all went to Virginia, Schmidt included. That's where they got him from at Vandy, from Virginia. Sampson and the Cavs a winner today over Ohio State, 89-73. A 4-foot birdie putt on the 18th green gave David Graham a one-stroke win at the Phoenix Open today. Graham fired a 66 this afternoon for a 72-hole total of 268, which is 16 under par. The win is worth $54,000 to him. One shot back was Lonnie Hinkle, who took home 32 thou, and then it was Calvin Peete, the golfer with the diamonds in his teeth. He was in third place in a tie with Mike Reed. Well, as many of you know by now, the Super Bowl is currently in progress on another channel. But as I found out the other day, many of you don't know who's playing in it. One trip to the streets of Nashville, and I found out Super Bowl 15 is a whole different ball game. No Dallas, no Pittsburgh, just two better-than-average clubs fighting it out. Who you guys think's going to win the game on Sunday?
I think Oakland is.
Why?
Because I believe they got the best defensive team, and they got more experience, I think.
Philadelphia.
Why is that?
Wilbur Montgomery in the defense.
Philadelphia, all right?
That's fine.
I want Oakland to beat Philadelphia. Beat their pants off.
Oakland.
Oakland? I'm going with Oakland. Oakland. Who's going to win the game Sunday? Sometimes you even manage to get an expert's opinion.
In the game, I made a statement that whoever won the Oakland-Cleveland game would win the whole thing.
If it was Atlanta, close town, I'd be rooting for them.
I was hoping that Atlanta would win, but they kind of filed it up there at the end.
Yeah, he may be an Atlanta fan.
That's too bad. He should have a quarter for the slot machine over there.
The impressive thing, though, about the Super Bowl is that it's the biggest game of the year, and everybody keeps up to date on it.
Who's playing? Vanderbilt?
No, Vandy's not in it this year.
He's not.
No, this year it's Philadelphia and Oakland.
Oakland, I think.
Super Bowl, you toss up.
Who do you think might take it?
I don't even know who's playing.
The Super Bowl, who's playing?
Cincinnati Reds.
That's, yeah, that's they have a chance, I think.
I never watch sports.
But the greatest thing about doing a man-on-the-street interview is that being on television, people will recognize you. They'll treat you warmly. They won't be afraid to speak to you. Who do you think might win the ball game Sunday? Just Super Bowl game? Do you, television, Channel 5?
I don't want to talk to you.
Steve Buckhantz, Television 5, Eyewitness Sports. Would you believe we got 2 tickets, not one? We didn't show you the other one. We were there before 4 o'clock, and then we were there after 4 o'clock when you're not supposed to be there. And got 2 of them. The guy was mad, obviously.
Obviously he was. Well, now you've been watching and watching. Are you going to tell us what's happening in Super Bowl?
Well, I might. 14-0 Oakland.
Did I hear 14-0 Oakland? Is that what I heard from this Philadelphia fan? I think he is preparing to exit the studio. 14. We will have some final items in the news when we return in just a moment. Take it easy. It's okay. It's going to be all right.
A year ago, the name Herschel Walker meant little to the sports fans of America. Now he's considered the best young running back in college football. We know him as the Herschel Walker that led the University of Georgia to the national title. But there's another side to Walker, one just starting to emerge. He's changed his football cleats to track cleats and is tearing up the rubber in the 60-yard dash.
The reason I came to Georgia is because they had a super track team, super coaches, and at least a super sprinter there. I like track better, but it really don't matter. But I grew up around track. I grew up running, and I think track is my #1 sport right now.
In football, Walker achieved in 1 year what some athletes never achieve in a lifetime. But that simply isn't good enough for the Georgia Bulldog.
Well, like, I put everything behind me because, like, I know I'm real young and I can't lay down right now and let everything overcome me. I got to take the fight to the people and go out there and show everybody that this not just me. I want to get better, and I'm going to try real hard and at least better myself.
A full-speed Herschel Walker is an awesome sight, and you'd have to be a little bit crazy to want to throw your body in front of him.
I don't enjoy running over people, but if I had to, I will.
And oh, don't those defensive backs know it. Steve Buckhantz for CBS News, Nashville, Tennessee. Do you know this man? Well, he's becoming a popular figure on the professional golf tour. He won the Milwaukee Open, and he's only the 2nd black golfer ever to play in the Masters tournament.
It's always good to be recognized, and I think this is what it's all about, you know, and that comes from winning and finishing good in tournaments. And, you know, it gives me a great deal of pride.
Calvin Peete is still not a household golf name, but he's having to show his American Express card a lot less lately. And that's not too bad for a guy that up until 1966 thought the only purpose for links were to hold the end of a shirt together.
I was 23 years old before I even seen a golf club. And, yeah, naturally, I put a lot of hours in it, but then I'd say everybody that played this game, especially at the level where he would feel that he's competitive enough to play the tour, I'm pretty sure they've all put a lot of hours in.
Calvin Pete's forte are his drives off the tee. He could probably keep it within the cart path if he had to, and for that reason he's known to have some of the most accurate fairway woods on the tour. But even if you still don't recognize the name, the walk, or the swing, there's one thing that makes Calvin Peete different than any other player on the tour.
A lot of people come out to the golf tournaments expecting to see the golfer with the diamonds in his teeth.
The man with the unmistakable smile is here to defend his title in the 10th annual Ted Rhodes Pro-Am Golf Tournament. Steve Buckhantz, Television 5, Eyewitness Sports, Harpeth Hills Golf Course.
Steve Buckhantz is bringing news I have been waiting to hear for literally months.
We all know what today was. Today was the NFL's answer to the day after Christmas, right? The Pro Bowl game. Who cares, huh? That's what it was. Finally, the last football game of the year. Now we can really start concentrating on basketball. The Pro Bowl game in Honolulu. Now the players get about as excited playing in this ball game as you and I do about freezing rain. But they squeeze everything out of it they can, and there were a few good plays in this one, like this Brian Sipe pass to Auburn's Joe Cribbs for a nice gainer. This is the AFC team. And then Sipe to New England's Stanley Morgan, a former UT Vol. A couple of SEC players done good today, Morgan and Joe Cribbs. But Ed Murray, Detroit's rookie place kicker, booted 4 field goals for the NFC, and Steve Bartkowski hit who else? Atlanta teammate Alfred Jenkins, and the NFC won it 21-7. The NBA All-Star Game, which is usually about as exciting as the Pro Bowl game, was played today in Richfield, Ohio, and it turned out to be a pretty decent contest, though. The East had a big lead by the 4th quarter on plays like this one from the Knicks. Michael Ray Richardson, steal and slam dunk. But Paul Westphal got hot. This one from the corner, Drew Rain. Another one in the lane that is tough. Look at that shot. And then another one, a drive and subsequent three-point play that cut the East lead down to 9 at 113-104. But Dr. J kept his team in the lead with shots like this one. Slam dunk. He had 18 points, and then even when he misses, he's great. Watch the lower part of your screen. Look at that shot. The game's MVP, however, was Nate Tiny Archibald, finished with only 9 points, but he had 3 steals and 9 assists as the East wins it 123-120. The nation's 3rd-ranked team in college basketball was involved in a rout, and early on it looked as though DePaul might be on the losing end. They trailed the Orangemen of Syracuse 25-21 midway through the first half, but outscored them 18-2 to start the second and went on to a 91-69 landslide win at DePaul. Mark Aguirre led the Demons with 18 and went crazy. Watch this shot. That is a shot, folks. Tony Bruin paced Syracuse with 23. DePaul is now 18-1, while Syracuse falls to 11. Here it is one more time, 11-7 on the year. A hard-fought Southeastern Conference tennis tournament came to an end today at Vanderbilt. The winner with a total of 25 points, the University of Tennessee. They edged out last year's champs, the Georgia Bulldogs, by 1 point. A big win individually for Vandy was Charles Batt, knocking off Auburn's Bud Cox in the #2 singles championship, 7-6, 6-3. The other player that reached the final round for the Doors was Robert Laurendale. However, he was defeated by Paul Groth. 6-3, 6-1 was the final score in that match. The grueling 24-hour endurance race wound up today at the Daytona International Speedway. The team of Brian Redmond, Bob Gerritsen, and Bob Rahal were the winners, averaging 113 miles an hour. Can you imagine being cooped up in one of those little Porsches all night long at speeds of 200 miles an hour? You'd have to feel like a folding chair that's just been sat on by Buddy Hackett. But naturally, in this kind of race, there's going to be mishaps. One of them occurred here to Volkert Merle in car number 6. He was leading at the time when he broke a rear wheel down, locked it up on the eastern bank, and spun into the infield. Now, he was one of the members of last year's winning car. Merle was not hurt, but his car naturally was out of commission. Again, Brian Redmond's team wins the 24 Hours of Daytona. The drying out process continues at the Bing Crosby Pro-Am Golf Tournament in Pebble Beach, California. Normally on Sunday the match would be over, but you'll recall the first 2 days of the tourney were postponed by rain and hail, so they'll finish it up tomorrow. After 2 rounds now, though, it's Tom Watson and that fellow right there, Brad Bryant, tied for first place with 36-hole total of 136. That is 8 under par. 3 golfers are 1 shot back. Jerry Pate, Ben Crenshaw, and first-round leader John Cook. There's Ben. Jack Nicklaus is 3 shots back at 139. Nashville's Lou Graham fired a 3 over par 75 today, and coupled with yesterday's score of 73, gives him a 2-day total of 148. That's 12 shots off the pace. They'll play a total in this tournament of 54 holes now, and they'll call it quits tomorrow afternoon. In ladies golf, it was Sandra Palmer taking the LPGA Championship in Deerfield Beach, Florida. She finished 2 strokes ahead of Amy Alcott and took home $15,000 for the win. Well, as you may or may not know, this past winter baseball St. Louis Cardinals have done more wheeling and dealing than Monty Hall. Today, a Cardinal legend, Lou Brock, was in town, and Lee Riley asked him about Whitey Herzog's off-season card shuffling.
The green light to go out and do that.
Lou's got a little gray around his hair there.
He looks good, though.
He can run.
Baseball, football, basketball, tennis, golf, racing. You're going to do skiing this week.
That's right. Our 3-part series will start Wednesday night at 6 o'clock on skiing. Well, part 1 at 6, part 2 at 6 on Thursday, part 3 at 6 on Friday.
Do we get to see you skiing?
Snow skiing. It's a good question. Water skiing. When you go water skiing around here, you freeze
Are you going to ski?
your tootsies. You freeze your tootsies off.
Never mind.
Almost got fired.
We will have some final items when the news at 10 continues after this. Bad boy.
Tootsies.
It's got to be fair to call this win by Vandy tonight spectacular.
Spectacular, and anything else you want to call. There's some people downtown on West End right now that are calling it other things that we can't say. Well, we'll take a look at them too. We look at everything tonight, but you are right. Outrageous, spectacular, incredible, miracle, unbelievable. In a basketball game not to be believed, the Vanderbilt Commodores, seeded 7th in the SEC tourney, clawed and scratched and hit some of the most clutch free throws you'll ever see and knocked off 2nd-seeded and 8th-ranked Kentucky tonight. 60-55 the final. Call it a miracle, call it an upset, call it anything you like, but call it a win for head coach Richard Schmidt and his Vanderbilt basketball Commodores over one of the best teams in the nation. Walt Adams is in Birmingham and has a report on tonight's unbelievable win.
The Commodores overcame the odds. Television 5 Eyewitness Sports.
That McKinney's a smart player. If there's an unfortunate note to come out of tonight's contest, it's that senior forward Mike Rhodes did not play at all, therefore had no chance to break Clyde Lee's all-time leading scoring record at Vandy. Maybe he can do it tomorrow at the 6 o'clock. Who knows? He needs 3 points to break the record. If you can get over the shock of the Vanderbilt beating Kentucky, try to live through the fact that Ole Miss whipped Tennessee as well today. Can you believe that? Tennessee and Kentucky both beaten in the same day. It happened, folks. Again, free throw shooting was a big factor. The Vols, one of the best free throw shooting teams in the nation, hit 11 out of 12, not bad, but Ole Miss nailed 31 out of 38. They also cut off Howard Wood. Sean Toohey directed the team on the floor, and Cecil Dowell and Elston Turner on the stat sheet. Dowell hit for 22 points, while Dale Ellis drilled 31 for UT, but it wasn't enough. The tide turned early in the second half, score all knotted up at 45. The Rebels ran off 13 straight points, and the Vols could only get it back down to 6. Both UT and Kentucky will now sit back and wait for NCAA bids. Now, in the other ball game tonight, #1 seeded LSU, and that game is still in progress. That's a look at them in the white uniforms. They're leading right now 65-60 over Florida with 4 minutes left. Check all the scores in the SEC tournament. All right, there's the Vandy win. There's the Tennessee loss. Georgia over Bama by 8. Nothing in on LSU yet. ACC tourney, Virginia over Georgia Tech. Wake Forest beat Clemson 80-71. North Carolina beat NC State 69-54. Metro tourney, Virginia Tech beats Memphis State. Some scores you don't see. Indiana over Illinois 67-66. Michigan State beat Iowa in overtime 71-70. High school action, girls basketball. Mount Juliet a winner over Smyrna in 5 AAA. 5 AA Giles County a winner, 5 single A Richland over Chapel Hill. 6 AAA girls, nothing in on Pearl Hillsboro, nothing in on the boys score, Pearl Ryan. 5 AAA, nothing in Franklin Clarksville, thanks for calling, gang. And 5 AA boys, Giles County loses to Cone 60-54. Now, as you can imagine, after Vandy beat Kentucky, much of this town went berserk. Vandy beating Kentucky in the SEC tourney is like Antioch beating DePaul. There's been a lot of controversy associated with the Vanderbilt basketball program in the recent months, but tonight was nothing but jubilation.
Well, all right, Big B! Yeah! Schmidt, all right, buddy, what about it? Yeah! Woo!
Oh, real fine night in Nashville.
Yeah, I can't, some of the things I don't understand. They said fine lineup, although 2 months ago there were a lot of people were booing at the same lineup, but maybe those guys weren't. Let's get behind them now, and tomorrow it's Mississippi.
Okay, well, you're a real tough act to follow tonight, but